carbon footprint.
Hmm.
And I feel green buildings, especially in the developing countries, are really, really important, because we are building so much, the amount of construction is going to go up exponentially in the developing world. So it's very, very important that we build green, because green buildings contribute to over 40% of the carbon emissions. Building industry, sorry, uh, contributes to over 40% of carbon emissions.
Yeah.
So that's one of the reasons. And green buildings drastically improve the working environment. So a green factory enables the workers working in the factory to work far efficiently as compared to a plant which is not green. So if you have good ventilation, natural daylight, person working within the factory is able to see what time of the day it is. It has a huge psychological impact on the workers.
Wonderful, wonderful, great. Thank you so much, Parag, for sharing this. And I could see that when people start thinking about setting up, there are a series of challenges which we see that still exists for people. Cost is definitely what Pranav mentioned is one of the challenge. So Pranav, I will now come to you before I come to Mr. Haq. What do you see when you started creating it? What do you see that are the challenges which come towards implementing a green infrastructure?
See, first, when we started implementing it, like I said, lack of knowledge in terms of understanding. So we actually got in a consultant to do it, to understand, because in a layman's language, there was a lot of parameters that are defined. Yeah. You need to have a school closer to the factory, local, like Parag said, local sourcing. You're trying to create a modern building. A lot of things are not locally available. Then how do you make them available locally? A lot of recycling. What could be recycled? I still remember, I have videos from the making of the green building, that the trucks that used to come in with the soil and stuff, their tires used to be washed before they were leaving the site. So no soil could actually go out of it. We used to get points marked on that also, when we would have to give a proof of that. We used a lot of recycling. So whatever material, say for example, the brick pieces that were, when they construct the building, the brick pieces, they were also maintained on one site as a stock, so that they were used later on in the making of the roads and stuff. So initially there was a lot of issue in terms of the knowledge, understanding when we started making it. Now a lot of things is available. And personally, it was a great learning experience. Now I can actually become a consultant to a green building in the making. And then going through the renewal process, also the marking procedures, there is actually a late parameter now which IGBC gives us. And so it was very interesting. These sort of materials we used, we ensured that we used materials which are about 100-kilometer radius from the site. Also, a lot of material came in from the other plants that they were initially planning to scrap it, but then we reused it. Say, for example, the racks, stacking racks and all, they were refurbished to be used. We used a special type of tile on the ceiling where the heat would revert back. So we control the heat from the ceiling as well. The building we have created has a full ventilation system with a 153-meter water body, which actually filters the air through the water body and sucks it out of the building. So the temperature difference between the inside and outside at peak summer is around 8 degrees, like Parag said. And we have a lot of natural light. So at that time, the challenges I faced was collecting materials which were actually required for it. Also the lack of knowledge and lack of understanding, and doing things right the first time. So these were a few challenges I faced at that time, but I learned a lot at that time.
All right, great. Thank you so much, Pranav. Mr. Haq, I would like to ask you, what kind of challenges did you face, or you are in touch with so many other manufacturers, or they are facing in building green infrastructure?
No, I think I think Mr. Pranav said, I think this is the common thing. And when we started thing, nobody has any idea about these things, and we had to hire the consultant. And our challenge is even maybe bigger than Mr. Pranav, because what happened, because of the Rana Plaza and all these things, we have decided to go for lead platinum, and everybody knows that the moment you have to apply, you have to declare that what certification you would like to reach. And I can remember that when we hired the consultant, who actually the consultant was Mass Holdings. He's from Sri Lanka, Mr. Jayalat. I'm sure Mr. Parag may know him. The Mr. Jayalat is Energy Salt. And he came and he did not agree to go for lead platinum. He told, okay, it is very, very expensive and very troublesome, and most likely in between you will leave and then we'll lose a lot of money for nothing. And I will lose my reputation that I tried a lead platinum project and I failed. So better not to go for it. Later go for gold. That would be safe for you. But you know that because of the passion we already had in mind, we said, okay, if you can do the platinum, do it. Otherwise, forget the lead. No, we cannot change our mindset. So then, seeing our determination, he agreed. So from day one, scoring 80 points, and then we set our target. Okay, we want to cross 90. At that time, 90 was the highest score under USGBC. So we set the target from day one almost that we want to be the #1 in the world. So, it was enormous. Mr. Pranab already mentioned some parameter, but when you go for the platinum, this parameter even becomes much, much higher. And every details. I can just share one small experience that water taps, under the act, US Act, that you are not allowed to use more than 1.5 liter of water per minute. But normally we love to have the taps which gives you enough water. Yes. And we always love to use that. And when we went to the market and asking, okay, we need the taps which gives the 1.5 liter. Oh, they were asking that as though we are from different planet, because they never heard this kind of things, that somebody came and asking that who is giving the less amount of water. And then then we had to go to Singapore to import this special taps, because each and every point was very important for us. Mr. Parag understand it very clearly, because achieving 92 out of 110 was, at that time, it was so difficult. We did not want to miss any single point. But that FSC certified wood we had to use. There is nothing available in Bangladesh. So lots of challenges. But as Mr. Pranab was telling in a lighter mode, that we learned a lot of things. And again, I can echo with him. Maybe we thought that we can also now can be a consultant to guide somebody. But obviously, it was a huge learning process. And that's we are not allowed to focus the light in the evening towards the sky, because we are not allowed to disturb the nature in the night. Yes. I never heard it even in my whole life before it happened. So these are many experiences we learned in the whole process, and that's actually help us a lot. Now, when I use my washroom or when I go for the shaving or toothbrushing, I'm very careful about the taps, because we experimented. You can check at your home. The efficient tap gives you 7 to 8 liter water per minute. And if you calculate that every minute in the world, how many trillion liters of water we are just simply wasting for nothing. We are keeping it open, and 7 liters, and you don't need 7 liter water per minute. You have nothing to do. So there are a lot of things we experienced, and we are now exercising. But I think, as you mentioned, that it was a big challenge, and we became very happy that we could make it successful. And that together with this lead platinum, when we also thought that, okay, these lead things are much more technical than it is. Things are more visible things. It's much more technical thing. Yes. And if we want to be the #1, and if somebody comes and they will see, oh, it's #1, I don't see there is any speciality. So we decided to make it as beautiful as possible. So that's actually cost a lot of money from our pocket. And then when you are running after a passion, then sometimes you don't care about money. But now it is hurting us, because buyers are not paying that much. So anyway, so we are feeling at least the big satisfaction we have that we could set a trend in Bangladesh, and and still Plummy is is being known to I think across the world in the apparel sector. So that gives us a huge satisfaction, and that costs a lot of money. You cannot simply buy that kind of satisfaction even with millions of dollars. So
super. Thank you so much, Mr. Haq. And Parag, I will now come to you, and I would like to ask challenges from the other side of the table. A lot of times, I don't know if there are government challenges or what kind of challenges do you think are people, and you also have a perspective, you have actually the both sides perspective, whereby the clients you're working with, you have their perspective, the other perspective. Tell us about some of the challenges which are becoming very prevalent at this point of time.
Last point Mr. Haq made was that we've actually done these for our satisfaction because we don't get the extra money from clients on this. So basically, everybody wants a sustainable product. Everybody wants a product from a green factory. The biggest challenge is the customer doesn't want to pay you the extra bucks. So that's the other thing. And the other challenges are like, see now what I said, like sourcing materials. Like one biggest challenge I'm facing is like we have reflective glass of a particular gray shade on the building. So that the light is reflected back. We have not been, two glasses broke and we couldn't replace, we've not been able to replace it for last 4 months now. So because we are not getting that exact shade. So this is one of the challenges I've noticed recently.
Okay.
Apart from that, also, like he mentioned about the taps, we face the same challenges where people didn't actually know about the material. But coming back in terms of the government agencies also do not understand this. And still, because it's more to do with the private side of it.
Yes.
We are in a complex, in a textile park, which is HSIDC. So they were very happy of green factories coming in. The estate people were very happy about it. But to really understand it, we are actually like a desert. We are like an oasis between the deserts. The industry next to us is the most polluting industry. So it's actually spoiling the green building. So that is also a challenge we are facing. Every day we are getting into discussions how to control it, how to manage it. So in terms of learning, there is yet a lot to come in terms of what the green building requirements are further. Upgradation is still supposed to be coming in. So it's still in the very nascent stage. There are not many people aware of what a green building is and lack of knowledge. So also locally, the materials are also not very easily available, the sort of specifications that are required. So that is again another challenge.
Sure.
Otherwise, I don't foresee now with the people talking about, like now people associate green buildings with GRS, but they are different parameters. A green building is a green building, and those other sustainable certificates are a sustainable certificate in this separate field. So there is a little bit lack of knowledge that needs to be, the bridge has to be built there to show that the building certified as green is separate and the other certifications are separate. So those are a few challenges we face right now.
Parag, what do you think about it? Yes,
so I think the biggest challenge for us is breaking the myth, that green buildings are expensive. So people tend to over-design green buildings. They tend to overdo certain things. Like, I can say using reflective glass and doubly glazed glass in all areas of the factory, which are not really required, especially in an industrial environment. So I feel the understanding of how to design green and how to really achieve the points required on that certification can really break the myth, because the green buildings that, even platinum rated green buildings that we have done have not been so much more expensive for our clients. And we've broken those myths altogether. So by using very, very simple design, you fundamentally have to use excellence. You have to innovate. The innovation in your design reduces these costs and thereby not making the green building very, very expensive. And there are a lot of advantages that factory owners can actually get by building green. So for example, in Haryana, if you have a platinum rated factory now, I guess you get 15% more FAR, which is substantial. So if you have a gold rated building, I think you get 9% or something like that. So for each step, you get a slightly better FAR. So if you get more area, obviously, get more area to make your product over there. So I think the most important thing, stumbling block is this breaking of myths. Secondly, the policies. The policy makers also need to realize that they need to promote green buildings, because ultimately, by saving energy and saving water, you're saving natural resource, the national resources.
Yes.
So those are the stumbling blocks. I think the main stumbling block is that people are not fully educated on what really a green building is. So people imagine that, if you're going to build green, you're going to spend 20, 30% more.
Yes.
And in reality, what I have seen, it really does not cost more than 7 to 8% more than the actual cost.
So Parag, I'm going to ask you one more follow-up question. What Mr. Huck mentioned a little while earlier. He mentioned that, somebody said that, don't go for that kind of certification. And it was his passion that he wanted to go for that kind of a platinum certification.
Yes.
Do you also come across people who are a little reluctant of moving forward, or they do not want that to happen at this point?
Yes. Many of the factories that we do, the client very specifically tells us, look, we do not want certification, but we want you to design green.
Okay, all right.
So what has happened is green is naturally built into our design.
Okay.
So every factory that we do uses taps which save water. Water is recycled. Water is harvested. You always have natural daylighting, all the daylighting and ventilation. So this is built into the design. It's become second nature for us.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Sonal, I will now, thank you, Parag. Sonal, I will now come to you. You not only you run a textile sourcing platform, you also have a factory of your own. Tell me about you. Tell me what some thoughts around this particular thought. I would like to ask you that.
So particularly, thanks, Kagan. So particularly hearing the conversation, the mindset of most of the entrepreneurs in the industry is that the moment they hear the word green, it is confined to something which is a larger setup and something which takes a lot of money.
Yeah.
Of course, with the intent and the mindset and everything comes together with this. But the idea is to, plan something bigger. And of course, the moment we say it's something bigger, it is like we are kind of putting the equation only to a handful of people or to a very different set of, or I would say, very unique set of people in the industry who think it from that angle. Now that industries, now that the business is becoming more global and every factory and everything is getting exposed to the global scenario, buyers are asking for it. You get your factory gets graded. The buyers are asking for what kind of certifications you want. And just before we opened up the session, we had a quick conversation with Mr. Parag, and he said, there are factories who are able to convert and they're able to get double or triple or 3 times or 4 times the business by just putting the right mindset and putting it in the eyes of the customers. That is what they're doing. So what I am kind of looking here, and from the fact of the discussion is, while we want to see that the ecosystem gets transformed, what can we do? Especially this question is to Mr. Parag. What can we do, considering that the textile and the fashion is something which is very, very open and very global in terms of the fact that it is, everybody is reading about it and everybody is connected globally. And also now the consumers at sustainability as becoming the norm, consumers are becoming aware of it. How do we inculcate that at the ground level with the smaller and a mid-sized factories? How do we do that transition? And of course, I just heard about the experience of Mr. Fazlul and Mr. Pranam. They shared their experience. of course, the journey of being the first of those factories who thought that way was very, the challenges were there. But how do we now, how the transformation has happened and how do we mitigate this for a larger community as a whole?
So I guess, since you already have so many members, it would be very easy for you to disseminate, some simple information to them. We can guide you to do that. And if we disseminate that very simple to understand information with people in the textile industry, I'm sure what will happen is they will understand that it's not very difficult, and it's not very expensive. And by going green, you will actually save money. You save money. When you save energy, you save money. When you save water, you save money. And things like solar photovoltaic panels, solar photovoltaic has become so efficient now that you can recover your cost in 3 years or less.
Wow.
So we are just doing a 1 megawatt installation for solar PV, and it's guaranteed to pay back in 3 years.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. Great. So let me come to a question now of now that we've spoken about what are the kind of things we are challenges, and many we have seen also a lot of benefits what green buildings actually are providing us. How difficult it is to actually get on, I would like to talk about the validation process or the certification and all that. And Parag, you did mention that sometimes people don't go for certification and green. Is it possible? And I would like to first ask you, Parag, and then I would go to Pranab and Mr. Haq. Is it really difficult to get these certifications from the government side or from the application side? What are the basic certifications what one should get so that they can get going with green?
So there are no government certifications. There are bodies like now you have IGBC,
Yeah.
you have GRIHA, then you have LEED, and you have EDGE.
Yes.
And there are various organizations in India which are providing green building certification. So you have CII. CII is the biggest support to the Indian industry. So in India you have CII. Then you also have companies like Godrej who have got into green certification.
Okay.
Then there are other consultants. So there are specialist consultants who work with architects like us for providing green building certification, and they're very, very efficient. So people like me who have certain experience on working on green buildings, it doesn't really take us very, very long to inform the client as to what is achievable and what is not achievable, and a cost on that.
Okay.
So once that is done, I think so fundamentally we have a lot of some say 5-6 years ago we didn't have so much infrastructure as far as green buildings were concerned. But now you have lots of professionals, lots of companies who are there and who can help you in getting your green building certification.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Great. Thank you so much, Parag. And I would now like to ask a question to first Mr. Haq. On the client side, once you have developed a process, you have also got, you market it also very well. What kind of change in perception and business opportunities which has happened to you within the industry because you got rated on a specific parameter? How did it help you on the client side, on the customer side?
Yeah, it is very a mixed experience I had, and then when we about to get the certification, when we came to know that, okay, Mr. Parag knows that you, in the process, you can understand that what is score is going to be. Maybe 1-2 points is always under question mark, but mostly. So we scored 92, but we even before long time before we are more than sure about 80. 80 we could we knew it that we scored 80. That we know even at least 6 months before that is for sure we are going to get the platinum. So I started my marketing at that stage, and I make a booklet. Okay, this is the LEED Platinum certification. It's one of the highest certification, and I got huge response from the buyers. Even that's Mr. Pranav, Mr. Sunil can know that's getting a brand's appointment for a new supplier. It's not an easy job at all. But when I sent this message, I got almost all. We are mainly talking about the European brands, and I got appointment from almost all the big European brands like M&S. They are at that time they are talking about the Plan A, although they finally dropped the Plan A. That is different story. But I got appointment, and the response I got that they are just waiting when I will start the factory and they will jump in. That was the. So we are overwhelmed with the reception, but that did not happen when we started the factory, to be very honest. So then what happened? Okay, you started. Okay, let's see how you go, because that was the building, that was the factory, but that was not the product. So that is, that the product and the way we made the LEED Platinum certified, our target was a bit higher range of the buyers with whom we did not work before. So that actually, okay, that was a bit shock we had initially, but later on, it is obviously giving us some advantage, because when you have the LEED Platinum, at least it is giving me easy access to a buyer's door to have a meeting. So getting a meeting with a buyer, it's becoming much easier than any other general factory when I have this kind of accreditation under my belt. So that's easing my life. But on the other hand, buyers are not ready to pay you extra, and I don't blame them, because that no buyer, when I buy something, I also try to buy at least as less as possible. So that is the natural behavior they pay. Maybe we thought that buyer will jump and will ask, okay, I'm paying you 10 cents extra. That did not happen. But when I have the lot of customer in hand available, my negotiating power automatically increase, and that's helping us, always to get better money, to attract better people. And now we are dealing with all the big brands across the world. So I think that is paying off now. It takes time. It did not happen immediately, which we expected, to be very honest, in the first year or second year. Maybe it started to happen after, I can say that from the third year. So it takes a bit longer time.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Mr. for sharing. And before I actually go to Pranav, I would like to ask all our audience that in case you have any questions, and I see that people have questions, please put it into the question and answer box, and we will be happy to take up questions just within the next 10 minutes. We should be finishing this session. We are almost towards the end of our quick Q&A, our sessions here, and we will be definitely taking up the questions. So Pranav, I would now come to you and ask about how it has impacted or helped you with regards to your customers.
See, like Mr. Ark said, a lot of customers show interest in the factories that are green. You get a preference, but at the end of the day, it all comes down to cost. So yes, now with the current scenarios, with all these sustainability talks, green building certifications, like I mentioned earlier, the customers, you get a good higher range of retailers to work with. You get it's easy to get the foot into the door, but it boils down to the price. So these buildings do give you an edge over other suppliers, but in terms of the price points, you have to be competitive. So that's the story on the other side. But yes, when you talk about your green story, when you talk about sustainability, and the message can go on to a product, it makes them more interested and inclined towards you. So that's the scenario in the market right now. And again, with the changes now in terms of global warming and becoming a hot topic, and climatic change, so these they are preferring to work with work with suppliers who are compliant, also compliant with environment friendly practices. So it will give us an edge. Give it another 2, 3, 4 years, it will be more, we would be on a preferred supplier list basis. That's my thought process of it.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Now, on the we've discussed about the client side of as well, but all are at our platform, and of course, India, Bangladesh, and all these countries come with a large SME base, small and medium enterprises. So, and we all have interacted with SMEs in the past. Mr. Haq also has been on the presidential board of various associations. Pranab, you've also been seen it around. Parag, you've also dealing with a lot of SMEs as well. I would like to pose this question to all three of you, and I would request this would be one of my last questions around this section before we go on to the audience. How can we bring this culture shift between among the SMEs to really adopt this as a fact of life? Because I see that there is still a bit of a resistance. There is still less knowledge. How do you think, what are the things as the options to really SMEs to adopt this particular thing? And I would say, Parag, would you like to go for it? Let's start with you. Yeah.
So as I said earlier, I think the most important part is education, and maybe education through examples. I mean, I can give example of one of my clients for whom we did a gold-rated green building about 6 years ago. In 1.5 years, they trebled their turnover because they were mainly into exports of engineered goods and exporting to Europe and US. Their customers came to the new factory and they were so impressed by the new factory that they increased their orders, and that spread in the market, and within 1.5 years they trebled, and today they are at 5 times their turnover. At that time, and they commissioned me to build another factory for them, which is now going to be a platinum rated factory. So the results are, you can see them, that especially with, I would say, value addition, engineered goods and things like that. For example, these people make heat exchangers for the air conditioning industry. So the air conditioning industry is very, very sensitive about energy efficiency. So if you're manufacturing in a plant that is itself green, that adds value to that product. So I feel that the critical part over here is to educate and to dispel the myth about that green buildings are very, very expensive and unaffordable to build.
Great. Thank you so much, Parag, for sharing. Pranab, what do you say about it?
I agree with Mr. Parag. Plus, it's more to do with an individual also, or an industry, to what is their give back to the environment, or what is their mindset? How do they deal it? We are dealing with the chalta hai attitude in India. Until and unless that doesn't go away, people will not build buildings like this. But it is the need of the hour now. Also, it is more to do with industry centric, where, like he mentioned, it's the air conditioning heat exchanger industry. Industry in the textile industry also, they require to do it because it gives you a better environment to work in. It increases the efficiency of the workers. It increases the health of the workers. So it's overall, it does pay back in the long run. So people need to understand it's basically to do with the mindset of the individual running the industry, what the management thinks about it. And I think it's the need of the hour, and sooner we do it, better world for us.
Wonderful. I can completely understand. Thank you so much, Pranav, for sharing it. Mr. Haq, what is the Bangladesh perspective around
the Bangladesh perspective is very, very clear. I think I agree both the points mentioned by Mr. Parag is to break the myth, and this when you really go for the green building. I don't think our case is different, because we, as I told, we wanted to make it as beautiful as possible as well, which actually involved a huge amount of cost from that perspective for nothing. But that's the myth has to be broken, and education is also very important because, as Mr. Pranab was mentioning in Hindi, maybe chalta hai. So this is another thing. Okay, it's going on. People are they're going, what's wrong with me? I can do the same thing. But on top of that, I would like to say that the policy support, the government, I think it can be even applicable to India and in this part of the world. The government has to show a real policy benefit or policy support. Okay, if you go there, I will support you, and that should be lucrative. That should be lucrative. I can tell you that nowadays, government is supporting us. Okay, if somebody has the LEED certified factory, they get income tax benefit, which is very, very nominal. Let's say 0.1% of that is not okay. That is an honor. That is an recognition, but not incentive to just incentivize others to go for that. So for SMEs is in many fold. They are not I think really focused properly. We talk on the seminar, we talk in the symposium, write a lot of letters, but from the policymakers in the real field, it is very little there. That even in the corona, that the many packages, that there are SMEs packages, but it not reaching to them. So that is a big blockage there from policy maker side, and that has to be very visible, focus, and effective, I think, to attract them.
Completely understand. Thank you so much, Mr. Haq. And
just a point I wanted to add. I believe now in India, it's also much easier to get finance if you have a pre-certification. So if you pre-certify your project, you're getting finance for the project is far simpler.
That's good.
Fast track.
Super. And Parag, I would like to ask you a question which Mr. Haq also raised about the government. And there is one question which now I'm also simultaneously moving to the questions which have now come into the Q&A section. What are the kind of government incentives? Mr. R. Mohan has asked this question. What are the kind of government incentives, or whether the state or the center is actually doing so that we can it goes toward finance? Is what you said, that you can get free finance, but what are the other ones which are there?
Can I answer that?
Yes, please go ahead.
Partially.
Yes.
So, see, in India, frankly, it is a state subject. So it's not a center subject, and also within states, unfortunately, it's the municipalities which decide what incentives to give. So, for example, in Haryana, if IGBC has an advantage. Maybe in Chennai, Tamil Nadu, you will have EDGE as an advantage. Or in Pune, EDGE is recognized, but in Gurgaon, EDGE is not recognized. So I feel that the center needs to, kind of own this and instruct everybody, all over that it's important to follow green building strategies. I mean, maybe certification is really not that important, but they should be able to prove that they are building a certain amount of green, at least saving 20% energy, 20% water, and 20% embodied energy in materials. So, which is where you try to use natural materials and recycled materials to reduce the embodied energy in materials, which is also very important.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Parag. I would like to ask Pranab or Mr. Haq if you have got some help on the government side in terms of subsidies and all that, or any benefit. What do you see?
I tell, because yes, I got it. It is not exactly from the government in particular. At that time, there was no policy. That time, there was no policy, because when we calculated, we found that it is very expensive. And we thought commercially it might not be viable until and unless we get a subsidized interest rate to build the factory. So the then Bangladesh bank governor, our central bank governor, he's very quite senior to me, but I have very good relationship with him. So I met him and I told Mr. Governor, his name is Dr. Atiyar Rahman. I told Atiyar bhai, I'm planning to make the greenest factory in the world. Oh, she was so delighted. And he told, okay, no matter what support you need. I told, I need this amount of money. But his deputy, who is in charge of the green building, green initiatives, the government sector was not in the policy. He told, sir, we cannot support because there is nothing written in the policy. And I was amazed to know the reply from the governor. Governor told, okay, you deal with your, you change your policy, take your time, and give him the approval tomorrow. Don't wait for the policy to be changed. First, give him approval and then change your policy. That is something totally unexpected, totally unusual in this part of the world. It is not as the whole system. It is only because of the person who has dynamism, who has enough courage to do that. Because sitting in the central governor's chair doing these things sometimes is not safe even, you know.
Yes.
So I think that the support I got, and I should always recognize it. Otherwise, it could not be materialized, I think. So
but you think that government needs to really work towards this to give these kind of benefits? Or
now they are offering some sort of packages, especially subsidized interest rate for the green initiatives, green buildings. But at that time, it was big challenge.
Pranav, you wanted to say something around this?
We were far too early to build it, so we didn't get any benefits of it. Now, probably like Parag mentioned, probably we have 3 buildings sanctioned. So first is built, the second or third. Probably we may get an extra FAR, but I am not sure. I would have to check with our architect team.
Okay, all right.
So we're far ahead of time. So we missed the boat.
All right. Okay, good. So I think Mr. Prakash Manik had a question around the loan offers for these type of construction, which Parag in a way has already answered for that matter. Thanks, Parag, for preempting and answering this question. There's another question from Mr. R. Mohan, which has already been answered by our panelists around, does the end customer pay or simply because the product is made? So I would say that, you know, both of our panelists have answered this question indeed as well, that customers do not really pay an extra price over it, but definitely you have an edge and the foot in the door, which is definitely there, and keep pursuing it. Few years, you are definitely going to have an edge around this. So I think that question.
I want to add one
Yes.
point on this, because I receive this question almost every week in Bangladesh. No, almost every week.
Okay.
So I would like to answer this question in a different way. Let's say you made a 5-star hotel, but if your services and other things are not really matched with this, you will this hotel will not continue. It will be closed after a few years, and you will. So building the green factory is not end of the story. It is beginning of your story that you started your journey. So together with your service, together with your bargaining power, together with your product diversification, if you can match all together, certainly you will be the winner. But you must not expect the winning the game from day one. As you correctly mentioned, that you have to be patient. You have to have some long-term vision to win.
Wonderful. Very well said. Thank you so much for this. Sonal, what is your thought on this? You've been seeing these questions. What is your thought? Any questions from your side?
No, first of all, I like to just say that Mr. Fazlul has given an excellent point that all you need is a mixture of everything coming together. And green factory is just your first starting point of, you know, putting yourself in front of the customers with a better perspective that you are different from the league of the other vendors. But my question again is to Parag, and I would like to ask him, you know, because our industry, especially in the Indian subcontinent, is now just, you know, transitioning to a phase where sustainability and green buildings is just kind of getting into the mindset of the people. And now to put this transition faster and get adoption in place, what can be these, you know, starting points, how people can actually start transiting into this level? There are people who are already having factories. There are people who are looking to build factories now. So, but majority are the ones, they would like to know, how do we start taking those first initial step to start this journey?
So see, I mean, the green buildings are something, and it's not necessary that you're doing a new building. You can even retrofit a building. So So you can go for certain certifications like EDGE, okay, where you can retrofit a building and get it certified green. So all you need in EDGE, all you need to do is save 20% energy, 20% water, and 20% embodied energy in materials. So it's a very easy system for getting green certification, and it is specifically designed for the developing world.
Wow.
You see,
Hmm.
yes. So all the other green building certification systems were, originated somewhere else. But World Bank thought that, it's a high time that the number of green buildings exponentially increases. Instead of having higher rated buildings, if you have more number of buildings which, just meet the 20-20-20 criteria, you'll spread the footprint of green buildings. So now you have a lot of options. So it's not necessary to target, that you want to go platinum or gold. So as long as you save a certain amount of water and energy and natural resources, you will see the benefits.
Wonderful.
So
So,
So
I mean,
is
you
there a
start small,
transition
you can
point that
start
people can
small.
start with? You made some excellent point of 20-20-20 formula, but
Yeah.
is there a starting point, or is there a way that people can actually start looking into this area?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I mean, a small example I can give is you can completely retrofit all your taps.
Okay.
Okay. You get very, very good systems where you can filter the rainwater from the roofs and store it. And the same rainwater can be reused.
oh,
So we are doing projects where we are storing a year's use of rainwater, filtering it and storing it, so that the customer does not have to depend on either groundwater or municipal water.
super. Wonderful. So all I can see is that, against a popular saying of easier said than done, it is easier done than said. It's all about starting it and
Yes.
having the mindset, as Pranav also earlier said, that's having the mindset of starting, and the things will start. So good. Thank you so much for sharing. Mr. R. Mohan actually has a question which I don't know right now is out of the scope of this particular panel discussion. He says that, what would be the cost of setting up of a 1 lakh square feet of factory near Chennai? And I would say, Mr. Mohan, we would be pleasure to give you Mr. Warenkar's number, and he will be happy to talk about it, definitely. But I think it's a question beyond this scope of this. Then Mr. Madhavan V has asked a question on, is there any government subsidy for green building? We have already spoken about that. And Mr. Sunil Dalwani asks a couple of questions, and these are set of last questions which we have. But I will sincerely suggest, we already still have many people in the room. I would suggest, in case you have any questions, please put it in the Q&A box. We are here for some more time. The question is, can we get a general detailing on different categories of green buildings and specifications for each? I think we've discussed about this on the general detailing of the green buildings, right? In case you would need to throw some more light. And can a building be categorized post-construction and then be upgraded? Parag,
Yes.
would you like to answer this?
Yes, I've already answered that.
Yes, so it can be
possible. Yes.
It is possible. Great.
Yes.
So Sunil, thank you very much, Mr. Sunil Dalwani, for answering this question. And I think we've taken all the questions so far. I will give you Mr. Abdullah Al Naeem has raised his hand. Maybe we could ask him to allow to talk and let us ask. So Mr. Abdullah Al Naeem, you are online. Would you like to unmute yourself and ask your question? Oh, I think either he did it by mistake or all right, no worries. All right. So more questions coming in, or
Gagan, I've just unmuted Mr. Abdullah.
yes.
Mr. Abdullah, you can ask your question, please.
I think maybe he did it by mistake. At times it happens, so that's what I'm. It may be, So never mind. I think we have a lot of. Okay, he did it by mistake. He's just put a sorry on the chat box. So any more questions? It'll be wonderful to ask. And if not, yes, we will of course close this program now. But before I close, I would like to thank you all, Mr. Haq, Mr. Warekar, and Pranav, Mr. Mahajan, all of you. Thank you so much for such an interesting discussion around a very, very critical topic. I surely definitely got my knowledge upgraded on how we need to do this. I interact with a lot of SMEs, and I'm sure to tell a lot of them that why it is easier done than actually said or thought, for that matter. Thank you so much from my side. And Sonal, to you first, and after that, I would like to have some closing comments from each one of you of the panelists.
Just to sum up the entire conversation, and I am just kind of again coming back to my same question, and I'm taking a sum up from the a larger community point of view in terms of the SMEs and the MSMEs here. There are a few things that we can look around when we're looking at green buildings and some of the areas what we can change around. As Mr. Parag mentioned that what we can do is a 20-20-20 formula, wherein we can use water taps. By just changing the water taps, the amount of control of the water can be reduced by 20%. We can reuse the rainwater for a longer period of time. We can use the solar power on our factory buildings. And in case if you can just also, Mr. Parag, if you can throw a light of how much greenery can be done in a factory, because that is something very doable kind of things in the Indian subcontinent. If there is some light you can throw on that particular area also, how much greenery can be done in the factory, maybe on the rooftop, maybe in the driveways areas. Will that make any value addition in terms of getting the validation in place?
Yes. So go for local trees. Don't. So you have to do some study on what is the local tree. Do not have a lot of lawn area, because lawn consumes a lot of water. So restrict your lawn to not more than 20% of your total green area. And use all local plants and trees.
Okay.
Because they're sturdy and they require lesser amount of maintenance. So they'll also require lesser water, they'll require lesser maintenance. And keep your turf area or the grass area to a minimum.
All right.
That consumes a lot of water. And one thing I missed is, very important is use LED light fixtures.
Yes. Wonderful.
Efficient LED light fixtures.
So there is one last question which Mr. Ashok Chakravarti has put in, Parag, and we can answer this and then move forward on our closing comments. Although we did discuss a bit briefly, but would you like to throw a bit of a light on what is the validity usually for the green buildings and the renewals part?
3 years.
Okay. And there is a renewal after the 3 years.
Yes. So, that's of course, if you want to maintain your status,
yes,
then you have to go for a renewal.
Wonderful. All right. Thank you so much. And I would now like to first come to Pranav for your closing comments from today's session, and then we move forward.
Pleasure meeting you all, and thank you for having me on this conversation, and wish we have more green buildings in the country.
All right. Great. Thank you. Mr. Haq, what about you?
I think I should thank SOTEX to invite me to join from Bangladesh, and I took the opportunity to highlight what we did as a whole from Bangladesh apparel sector. I personally now feel proud that Bangladesh is leading the whole sector in terms of the green buildings, and as Mr. Pranav correctly said, that we'd like to see the more green factory comes, and the global criticism about the apparel sector, especially of located in this part of the world, should have we can just turn around this criticism into appreciation. So that days are coming, and hopefully in a short time we will see that. And with the support from SOTEX and other bodies like that, they will take this kind of initiative to showcase these positive things to the rest of the world.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Mr. Haq. And Parag, what about you? Some closing
Thank you for having me on this panel. It was a pleasure discussing with all of you, and to meet Mr. Fazal and Mr. Pranab Mahajan. It was a pleasure meeting all of you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for all of you for some very valuable comments, which people need to hear. It's the call of the day. And we really love your suggestions. And definitely this will spark a thought in many other people that, yes, we can do it and it is possible to go for it. Thank you one more time. And looking forward to see you sometime soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, everyone.
All right, we can probably close the meetings. So we can just got 10 people left. So are you sharing something? There's nothing on share.
Fulfill their needs.
Yeah,